Okay, so we talked about the Shurley jingles. I'm going to go ahead and do the sentence jingle for you just so that we have it for everyone on the recording. The sentence jingle from Shurley Grammar, Level 1. A sentence is complete when 5 simple rules it meets. It has a subject, and a verb. It makes sense with every word. Add a capital letter, and an N mark. Now we're finished and aren't we smart? Now our sentence has all its parts. Remember, subject, verb, complete sense, capital letter, and an N mark too. That's what a sentence is all about. Woohoo! So that's a sentence jingle. Thank you. Most of the program that you do every day will be the jingles and the sentences. You have some vocab that you're going to be going, it's not really vocab, you have to go through the definitions, but absolutely give the students an idea of what the sentences are about. So this we do in our word attack way, and when we do word attack, we just teacher says, then student says. Teacher says, student says, teacher says, student says, teacher says. You get the idea. And then student. So you do this a couple of times until the students are all comfortable with all the words. And we just do that in case there's any confusion. You will have some non-readers in your class, so it's important that they know these words pretty quickly. And you'll see why in a second when we go through these. So I'm going to act like I'm the teacher. Be my students, if you will. This word is cats. What word?
Cats.
Yes, cats. Sat. What word?
Sat.
Yes, sat. Boys. What word?
Boys.
Yes, boys. Dogs. What word?
Dogs.
Yes, dogs. Bears. What word?
Bears.
Yes, bears. Ran. What word?
Ran.
Yes, see if you can tell me the words. First word, get ready.
Cats.
Yes, cats. Next word, get ready.
Sat.
Yes, sat. Next word, get ready.
Boys.
Yes, boys. Next word, get ready.
Dogs.
Yes, dogs. Next word, get ready.
Bears.
Yes, bears. Next word, get ready.
Ran.
Yes, ran. Wonderful job writing those words. You guys did such a great job. These sentences have these words in them, so when we diagram our sentences, we're going to have those words. So make sure you're remembering those words. There it is. Boys there, boys, dogs, got cats again, got some bears down there, and that word ran all over the place. So be making sure you're looking at those words and not getting any of these confused. Okay, when you diagram a sentence, it's very easy. You're going to tell them how, show them how, and then you're going to ask them to do it. Model, lead, test. That's how we do everything. We model it, we lead them through it, and then we test and see if they can remember how to do it themselves. In Shurley, we start with very easy, very simple sentences. Cats sat. My turn. Cats sat. What is being said about cats? Cats sat. So I ask questions in order to get them to tell me the answers. So the first question you learn in Shurley is, what? That's the first question you always ask. So you read the whole sentence, cats sat, and then you ask, what? And you read the verb, what sat? That's your first question, always. That's always the first question. It doesn't matter what level you do, you're going to read the sentence and ask, what? And then the verb, what sat? The answer is cats. So cats is our subject noun, and it gets labeled, just like that. The next question we always ask is for the verb, and that second question is, it's a little bit longer, let's see if I can fit it. What is being said? What is being said about the subject noun? That's the second question we always ask. What is being said about, in this sentence, cats? What is being said about cats? Cats sat. We know that is our verb, so it gets labeled with a V. Okay? I'm going to do it just like this. I'm going to read the whole sentence, ask what sat, label cats, and then go back to cats, ask what is being said about cats, and label sat. Here we go. Cats sat. What sat? Cats. Subject, noun. What is being said about cats? Cats sat. Verb. We just diagrammed the whole sentence. It's very exciting. Yay! I'm going to do it one more time, and then I'm going to ask you to diagram it with me. Here we go. Cats sat. What sat? Cats. Subject, noun. What is being said about cats? Cats sat. Think you can do it with me? Let's try it. Let's read the sentence. Start by reading the sentence. Get ready to begin. Cats sat. What sat? Cats. Subject, noun. What is the next question?
What is being said about cats?
Cats sat. Verb. Very nice. And you want your students to get used to saying the entire thing, all of it, all the words. Because then you'll switch it up. You'll do the question answer where you ask the question, they say the answer. You'll do it where they ask the question, you say the answer. You'll do different ways. You'll have students up here diagramming sometimes and labeling if they're superstars in their learning positions. So you want to get used to saying all the words. Let's try it one more time. Cats sat. Read that sentence for me. Get ready?
Cats sat.
What sat?
Cats.
Cats. Ask the question with me. Get ready? What sat? Cats.
Subject, noun. What is being said about cats? Cats sat. Verb.
Very nice. Very good job. Yes. So that is Shurley. And the goal with Shurley grammar, once you have everything labeled, is to get it to be automatic. Automaticity. To get it fast, so they don't have to think about it anymore. So they know, oh, boys sat. Who sat? Boys. Subject noun. What is being said about boys? Boys sat. Verb. Cats ran. What ran? Cats. Subject noun. What is being said about cats? Cats ran. Verb. Dogs ran. What ran? Dogs. Subject noun. What is being said about dogs? Dogs ran. Verb. Bears ran. What is being said about bears? Oh, I'm sorry. Bears ran. What ran? Bears. Subject noun. What is being said about bears? Bears ran. Verb. It gets easier and easier and faster as you go. So we're going to do all of them. We're going to try it. Cats sat. Say the whole sentence with me. Get ready?
Cats sat. What sat? Cats. Subject, noun. What is being said about cats? Cats sat. Verb.
Next sentence. Get ready?
Boys sat. Who sat? Boys. Subject, noun. What is being said about boys? Boys sat. Verb.
Yes. Next sentence. Get ready?
Cats ran. What ran? Cats. Subject, noun. What is being said about cats? Cats ran. Verb.
Nice. Next one. Get ready?
Dogs ran. What ran? Dogs. Subject, noun. What is being said about dogs? Dogs ran. Verb.
Yes. Last one. Get ready?
Bears ran. What ran? Bears. Subject, noun. What is being said about bears? Bears ran. Verb.
Nicely done. Okay, so after you've diagrammed your sentence, we have a couple of other things that make up our sentence that we have to make sure get taken care of. We have the period. This is part of your sentence. Whether it's a period or an exclamation point or a question mark, it needs to be dealt with. So there is actually something that you get in the habit of saying whenever you see a period. At the end, you would say, period. You identify what mark is at the end. Period. It's a statement. That means it's a statement. This is a statement sentence. It's a declarative sentence. So we say, period, statement, declarative sentence. You can circle it or not circle it, doesn't really matter, but I like to circle it. Period, statement, declarative sentence. We put a D for declarative. Period, statement, declarative sentence. So you would say, cats sat. What sat? Cats. Subject, noun. What is being said about cats? Cats sat. Verb. Period, statement, declarative sentence. Okay? Later, you'll also learn, go back to the verb, divide the complete subject from the complete predicate. Much later. But that comes later, where you actually make sure that the whole sentence is diagrammed. The subject part, the predicate part, because the predicate can get pretty long. The subject can have lots of adjectives and things going on up here, prepositional phrases get added in there. So you'll, period, statement, declarative sentence, go back to the verb, divide the complete subject from the complete predicate, and then you're done. And all the students, different classes have different ways of ending their sentences. Some say boom and hit their desks. Some say hurrah and like jump in the air. It's totally up to you what you want to do to end a sentence, but it's good to celebrate the end of a sentence. Because when these sentences get long, they are ready to celebrate when they're all finished. So let's practice that last part. Period, statement, declarative sentence. Say it with me. Get ready?
Period, statement, declarative sentence.
Exactly. Period, statement, declarative sentence. At the end, we put a D for declarative. If it's an exclamation point, we would say exclamatory sentence, and it has strong feeling. So we usually put, let them flex their muscles a little bit. Exclamatory sentence, strong, or exclamation point, exclamatory sentence, strong feeling. Is that the right order? No, I'm wondering in first grade if that's different. It might be different in first grade. Exclamation point, exclamation point. Strong feelings might come first. Exclamation point, strong feelings, exclamatory sentence. Figure out what it is. If it's a question mark, we just mark it with INT for interrogative sentence. And there's one more. I can't remember what it is. Declarative, exclamatory, interrogative.
Isn't there a command one?
Yes. What is it called?
It's, oh goodness.
Period, command.
When you're stating something, it's different.
Period,
When you're
command.
commanding something, it's
Yep, and I can
imperative.
Imperative, thank you, IMP. Period, command, imperative sentence. Yep, and it's a command. So those are different endings that you will learn. The book does have all those in there. It'll explain which ones. There's a script for the sentences in your book, so you know all of this, what to say to help your students. You can even give it to your students if you think it will help them, or if you want their parents to help practice with them at home. That's something that you can do. Because these questions, as you just witnessed, are difficult to get all those words in and get them on a good beat, get them together. It's tricky. It takes a lot of practice. And they'll get it though. They'll get it, and we start putting a really, really good beat to it. It becomes a really fun thing. Then you have contests with the students to see how fast they can go. That's really fun. I don't think I never do Shurley without a timer nearby, in my hand or on the overhead. And it's fun to say, you know, if you can knock 3 seconds off, I'll give you 3 extra seconds of recess. They get really excited even if it's only 3 seconds. Because they know that if they're doing 5 sentences and that's 3 seconds on every sentences, well, that's 15 whole seconds they get added to their recess. So you want to encourage them to go fast. And why do we want to encourage them to go fast?
Because it's fluency.
We want it to be automatic. We want them to be able to do this so well they don't have to think about it. So when they get to the more difficult sentences, if I want to add an adjective, if I want to add a prepositional phrase, then this part they already don't have to think about. They only have to think about the next hardest, the next new thing. Most of our lessons are arranged so that very little is new information. So when we start out something like this at the beginning of the year and they have lots of new information, we just do lots of reps, make it really fun, make sure that they're feeling that they like it a lot. Challenge them, do competitions, first row, second versus second row, boys versus girls, back of the room versus the front of the room. Because the more that they feel like they like this, the more they'll want to do it later. My classes, this is always the thing they want to do when we have an extra 5 minutes. This is the thing. It's like, well, we could pull out our rocket math, or we could pull out our Shurley, or they're like, Shurley! And you're like, okay, let's put a sentence up on the board and let's do some Shurley. Because they know they get rewarded for it. We do lots of cheers for this program. There are fun jingles they get to learn. And I love expressing how it's very easy to see how smart they're getting. It's easy for them to see how smart they're getting. We loved taking sentences from our literature and putting it up on the board and trying to diagram those sentences so they can really see how they can use it. And their writing gets really, really good. Their writing improves so much when they do this program, and you do it well, and it's fun. Students then like to write. There's students who didn't like to write before. You say, oh, well, but I bet you could do it like a Shurley sentence, and I bet you could do a subject, noun, and verb, give me 2 adjectives and a prepositional phrase, and then you're speaking this language that their brain understands in a whole new way, and it's very easy for them to break it down. Whereas if you just say, write something better, it's not very good language. This Shurley grammar gives us the language to use to let the students know how to make things more specific. So that when they're writing something, you can say, you know what, I read your sentence, and they're all basic pattern 1 sentences. Pattern 1 sentences are just when you have, that's all they are. A pattern 1 sentence is a subject, noun, and a verb. That's a pattern 1 sentence. You can have adjectives, you can have as many adjectives as you want. It's still a pattern 1 sentence. In order to make it a pattern 2 sentence, there's other things you have to add. Object, like a direct object or an indirect object. That's pattern 2, pattern 3. and so on and so forth. So it's easy for students to see when they're learning this program how to make things more interesting in their writing just by using different patterns or using more flowery speech. I always hated words like that. My teachers always told me, make it more beautiful, make it more descriptive. And I'm like, it's fine. It tells you exactly what you need to know, right? And whenever they would say use more flowery descriptors, I was just like, what do you mean? I have a more mathematic brain. What do you mean? Give me the data I need to know what you want from me. And this program gives us a common language between what we're looking for, what we want, what we expect, and what the students understand so that they can live up to those expectations. Most of the time, every day. So let's talk about when you do this and how it works. I'm going to really quickly move this over here so that they can see what I wrote on the board. There we go. So the first question you always ask, what, and then the verb, and then the second question you always ask, what is being said about the subject noun? And then you diagram those. Those are our 2 questions that we work on for those pattern 1 sentences. And you'll, like I said, you do 10 groups of sentences like this. Not very much more complicated than this. You might add an adjective, maybe. But for a whole week, you're working on just these sentences. You will probably have some students who have done this before, who are familiar with the pattern, that will help you get a good beat and a good rhythm down. You'll do this every day, 5 days a week. This is a 5-day-a-week program, but it's fast. You saw how quickly we did that. So once they've done it, on the first day, and they're learning it, it's going to be kind of hard. You're going to have to make it really fun, make it exciting. Second day, it's going to be remembering, oh yeah, this is how we do this. It's going to flow a little bit better. By the 3rd and the 4th day, it's going to be able to go fast. You're going to be able to get that timer out and start doing some time rewards based. By the 5th day, they should be able to do this, and you could hopefully by then even ask students to come and diagram, be the scribe on your board, if they can keep up the pace. That's a tricky one too. The next step with this is making sure the students can write it as they say it. So they're going to have a copy of this in their Shurley book, and not the first day, probably not the second day, maybe the 3rd day, depending on your class, you'd have them write exactly what you write in pencil in their book, so that you can help them with that skill, writing while saying and not getting behind, not worrying about erasing it. If it's sloppy, who cares? Keep moving if we're going fast. This is not a handwriting score in this class. I'm not going to worry about sloppiness. But I am going to worry if I can read it, of course. I better be able to read it, and it better be correct because we're doing it together as a class. We're doing this together as a class. Whenever you're doing these sentences, it's always together as a class. So you're going to do this Monday through Friday, just like I did on the board. You're going to review the words, you're going to do the sentences, you're going to write them on the board, you're going to do some competitions. You're probably going to spend about 20 minutes a day on this program. There are sometimes it will only take you 5, right? On those days, that's when you talk to the students about making sure when they're writing that their writing is neat, making sure when they're writing it that they're keeping up with the class, or maybe you're timing them on just writing it and saying it silently in their minds. So you're saying, okay, this is a silent repetition. Everyone get out your books, get your pencils ready. I don't want to hear a single word. Let's see how silent you can do this. And when you're done, put your pencil in the air so that I can stop the timer. And then every student is done, their pencil's in the air, and you can see how quickly they all finish writing it and saying it to themselves. And then you can go back and do a check and make sure it's all correct. But all of those are going to help these students with there's different skills, right? One's just saying them out loud, the other one is saying and writing. The other one is, can I remember everything I'm supposed to say without saying it, without hearing anybody else say it, and write it on my own? So all these are different skills that they're going to have to demonstrate when they take the test. It's going to be a silent activity. You're not going to do it out loud as a class, right? But that's all different ways that we lead them through this activity before their test. Just like I said before, we model it, then we lead it. We lead them through several times, and then we're going to test them later. We're going to test them immediately when we have them do it, and then later we're going to do a delayed test, which is like the end of the unit test. So any questions about what you do during the week? It's pretty straightforward. Yeah.
The only question I had was, are they going to be the same group 1 sentences for the entire week?
Yes,
Okay.
it's these sentences just like that. I just keep it on the overhead all week long. When it's time, I pull the overhead out, we turn it on, it's already there, ready to go.
Is it an average of 5 or 10, did you say?
It is about an average of 5 in almost every level. It's between 4 and 6, I think. I don't think anybody goes to 7 on just the weekly practices. But in higher levels, sometimes the sentences are a lot longer. It's usually I think the least amount you have in any level, in any group is 3. But it's because it takes up the same amount of space. It's really long sentences. But yeah, roughly between 4 and 6 sentences is what you'll be used to doing every week. Yeah, okay. It's a great idea because you're learning the jingles first. So you won't have this the first day of school. You'll be teaching them that sentence jingle. And then you'll be teaching them the noun jingle. You're always teaching a jingle, and so that's usually how I like to start the class. Because when your students are transitioning, they're usually coming in from somewhere else, or they're coming in from PE, or from their recess, or from wherever. And during that transition, you can go ahead and start the jingle, and they'll just say it as they get ready to get their stuff out, and they already know what they're getting out because you started a Shurley jingle. So they're like, oh, I better get out my Shurley notebook, get out my pencil, get out my whatever else it is they need, their dot sheet if they need their dot sheet, so that they know that it's Shurley time. Maybe they have a binder with jingles in it. In some classes, I'm not sure, they had I'm not sure how they're organizing it in first grade here. I know it's different from what we do up in Utah, but when you open your boxes and your bins, you'll see it'll either be just like a student packet, either in like a 3-ring notebook or just stapled. It might be small enough to just be stapled, but they just keep in their docket, the blue folder. So it might be that, or it might be the actual Shurley book. I'm not sure. There is a book that we do buy from Shurley, but we got permission for them to make copies. So I'm not sure how you guys do it down here. But either way, they'll need to get out their materials, and they'll need to get out their jingles so that they can read along with the jingles, so that they can learn those. And that's usually how I start the class. They come in, they start filing in the classroom, I start the jingle off. Everybody doing a sentence jingle, get ready, sentence. And then while they're getting ready, you can help those students who you can see are dawdling and give them a few extra pointers. And then you just go into the sentences. You do the sentences. If there is a new thing to teach, for example, if I were going to teach you the question for an adjective, I would probably do a few review sentences like this first, and then I would add an adjective. Or I would add the word the. The is an article adjective. That's one of the first things that you add. In fact, let's go ahead and I'll show you demonstrate how I would teach that. So instead of cat sat, what if I had the cats sat? If I had the sentence, the cats sat, then I have something, I have a word we haven't diagrammed before. First thing we do is we read the whole sentence. Second thing we do is we ask that question, what sat? Next we ask, what is being said about cat? And then the last thing we do is we identify what the is, and we just say the word, the. And we know that it's an article adjective because there are only 3 article adjectives, the, a, and there's a whole jingle that goes with the 3 article adjectives, the, a, and. So you would have taught the article adjective jingle before, and then you would have pointed that word and go, oh, wait a minute, that's from our jingle, our article adjective jingle. What's the article adjective jingle? And then they'd review it, and you'd say, yeah. So when we get to this word, you say the article adjective, and you mark it with an A. What do you mark it with, class, then?
A.
An A, exactly. So let's go ahead and do that sentence since we know how to diagram these sentences so well. Let's go ahead and do that really quick. So we're going to read the whole sentence. The cats sat. What sat? Cats. Subject, noun. What is being said about cats? Cats sat. Verb, the. Article, adjective. Period. Statement, declarative sentence. Let's see if we can do all that together. Do it with me. Get ready. The cats sat. What sat? Cats. Subject, noun. What is being said about cats? Cats sat. Verb, the. Article, adjective. Period. Statement, declarative sentence. Nicely done. Very good for your first try. That was awesome. Yeah. when you teach something new, that it's as simple as that. Most of this is already familiar to them, and so that one new part, very simple to add. It doesn't never becomes overwhelming. Instead, it gets exciting. I always liked to challenge my kids when it came to grammar to see how fast they could get that new thing, or if they already knew what it was. Sometimes I would say, let me do it for you, and then I would look at them and say, do I need to do it for you? I don't know. Is it possible you could do that one on your own since you know the article adjective jingle and you know what we're going to label it? Let's see if you can do it on your own. And they get really excited when you give them opportunities like that because they realize they feel comfortable, and if it's a safe environment and they know that they're going to have fun and they're going to get rewarded one way or the other. Either they're going to be rewarded by doing the sentence well and you're going to give them a huge cheer and it's going to be fantastic, or they're going to get it wrong and you're going to laugh it over a little bit and say, that was such a good try, I'm so proud of you for trying, right? So if it's fine either way, and once they realize that, they're happy to take the challenge and try it themselves. It's awesome when you see your students who are shy and quiet and they want to be the scribe on the board. They're like, I want to be the scribe on the board, I want to do it. And you're like, okay. Great, Johnny, come on up here, the one that never says a word. Come on up, be our scribe on the board. So I really like this program because it brings out some of those kids who are quiet but interested in words, which is exciting. Any questions about anything yet? Awesome. Okay. The only other thing I want to tell you with Shurley is about the vocab. Later in the program, there are actual vocab words that you will have to teach the students. They're usually on the side, just like this. In the older grades, they write them in their notebook. They have to write the word and the definition. In the younger grades, first and second grade, we don't have them write them down. That means they have to be automatic with them, which means you're going to have to repeat the words and the definitions in order for the students to have them memorized. That takes a little bit longer, but not very much longer. They're not using really hard words. They use words that the students have probably seen before, probably heard before, but they need to understand its context in this sentence. They might use slope, the word slope. And so they need to know this has to do with the sloping of a hill. The slope of a hill is the angle of the hill. And you can have everybody show me what an angle is with your arm. This is slope. Everybody say slope with their hands. Get ready, slope. So that's the way that you need to teach that vocab. And there won't be very many of the words. It just helps them get even more understanding. We never want to pass up an opportunity to teach them more words. We're always looking for more ways to get more words into their brains, right? You can't have too many words. So just be aware that when those vocab words do come up, if you're unsure of the definition that the program wants you to use, it's in the book. It's in the book, and it's very clear and very short for the students. And so you can go and find that. And it's all organized, like I said before, Unit 1, Group 1. So you can always just go back to Unit 1, Group 1, and on that first page will be the very first thing is the vocabulary section. So you don't have to read through the whole thing to find it, which is nice.
Okay, and then
'Cause
you
there's a
said
lot.
we use the word attack strategies. So can you repeat that for me? Can you model that again? It's like word, what
Absolutely.
word?
Yes. So first it's the teacher says, then the student says. That's the first time you do it. The second time you do it, the student says and the teacher verifies, yes, cats. And then you can do it even more. If your students need more reps or if it's not quite automatic yet, if you have students that keep getting caught up on this word or whatever, then you just keep going until all your students have it down and it's smooth and it's flowing. You can do fun things like top down, bottom up, where they have to say cats, sat, boys, dogs, bears, ran, bears, dogs, boys, sat, cats. Just another way to get their brain to see the information and make sure they're not guessing and make sure they're not memorizing just one order of the words. You can even poke around and do different words. Say, okay, who can follow my finger? Who can follow my finger? First word, get ready, boys. Yes, next word, ran, get ready. And they have to follow your finger around. You can do it all different ways. But I'll show you the first three just so that you'll see that often when we do the word attack. When we do it the word attack way. This first word is cats. What word?
Cats.
Yes, cats. Next word, sat. What word?
Sat.
Yes, sat. Next, boys. What word?
Boys.
Yes, boys. Next word, dogs. What word?
Dogs.
Yes, dogs. Next word, bears. What word?
Bears.
Yes, bears. Next word, ran. What word?
Ran.
Yes, ran. Now you tell me the words. First word, get ready?
Cats.
Yes, cats. Next, get ready?
Sat.
Yes, sat. Next, get ready?
Boys.
Yes, boys. Next, get ready?
Dogs.
Yes, dogs. Next, get ready?
Bears.
Yes, bears. Next, get ready?
Ran.
Yes, ran. Now we're gonna do it from the top to the bottom, and then we're gonna go from the bottom to the top. Top down, bottom up. Get ready. Cats, sat, boys, dogs, bears, ran,
bears, dogs, boys, sat,
cats. Nicely done. Can we do it faster? Let's see if we can. Get ready, begin.
Cats, sat, boys, dogs, bears, ran, bears, dogs, boys, sat, cats.
Very nicely done. Nice job. So that's top down, bottom up. And then you can, there are tons of other strategies. If you have students that are struggling with reading, if you have a few students in your class who aren't readers yet, who are still decoding those words, trying to sound them out, the airs, bears, we have a lot of tips and tricks and different ways we can help you do word attack with your class so that gets a little bit faster. So just let your administrators know, and we'll walk you through those if that becomes something that you need for your class. Of course, if your class is super fast with that and you have lots of good readers in your class, you don't need to spend much time here at all. This is just to get them ready to do this. So don't feel like you need to spend a lot of time here. If you have students who are good readers and they're ready to move on, you don't need to stay here. If you know that in your class you only have 2 or 3 that are still decoding, I probably wouldn't even do teacher read first. I would do student read first. I would say, tell me the word. Yes, cats, tell me the word. Yes, sat, next word. Yes, boys, next word. Yes, dogs. I would start there. If I knew that the majority, 95% of my class, didn't need me to tell them the word. Does that make sense? I don't think 95% of your class would be that way, but I don't know. So you're gonna have to be the judge of that. And just be aware. And when in doubt, just read it to them. It's fine. You'll never be wrong if you read it to them. Even in 5th and 6th grade, you're never wrong if you just read it to them first. It's not bad at all. Any questions about word attack or how we do it or different things? Perfect. Any questions about the sentences? You afraid? I hope you're not afraid. This is my favorite class. I love it, I love it, I love it.
These lessons are on the Google Docs, right? And then that textbook is
Yes.
ours are our supplement.
Yes.
So
you're going to get a binder that has all of these in it. That has it has the overhead and it has a paper copy for every one, so that if you want to just use that to make copies for your class, you can. If you need a class set, but I think you do have a student book as well, or a student set of these that you can just make copies of for your student packet, or you'll get the books. Like I said again, I'm not sure, but so you'll get everything you need without having to go to the drive. On the drive, though, we've encouraged people to keep adding new videos of how they do the jingles, because you can do them to different beats. But we'd like to do our jingles for some of our Show What You Know activities. So on Wednesday, we'd like you to show those off. If your class, if the whole first grade already learned the sentence jingle the first week of school, then it would be so cool if you showed it off the second week during that Show What You Know assembly. But if you're all doing it to different beats, it's going to be really hard to show off because you'll all be in different parts at different times. So, however, we don't really care what beat you do it to, as long as it's the same as the rest of your grade at your campus. So that when you do those Show What You Know activities, you can all participate together. The whole first grade can do it together. The whole second grade can do it together. Whatever. Does that make sense? Awesome. Yeah. So. Change it up. We add claps, and sometimes we even add little bits of a cheer in the middle. Use your imagination, make it fun for the kids. If the kids have ideas, sometimes we'll let them come up with it, or sometimes kids will make mistakes, and we'll be like, no, I really like that. Let's add that in there. So they're not set in stone by any means. They're just meant to be fun ways for them to learn the rules for their sentences, and they help with the tests. On the tests, sometimes there are questions at the bottom that have them write the 5 parts of a sentence. And they will have to remember that jingle to write down the 5 parts of that sentence. Or they'll have them write down the 8 be verbs. And that's something else, another jingle they memorize, the 8 be verbs. And they'll have to go through that jingle to write down all 8 of them. So those kinds of things. So the jingles are pretty important. And they're a really great reference. Later, when they are in their writing classes, which we'll talk about in another class. Another part of the training, we talk about how when they're writing, when you're teaching them writing, and in a different, even in a history and science class, if they have to write anything, we like it to be to this standard, to this level, so that they're challenging themselves a little bit and getting used to hearing those words. Make sure that your article adjective, make sure you have your period, or if it's a declarative sentence, your exclamation mark if it's an exclamatory sentence. We want them to be hearing those words outside of just grammar class. They need to be hearing it whenever they're writing or when they're reading. If they're reading in literature and you see an exclamation point, it's okay to stop the class and say, wait a minute, that's an exclamation point. That means there's strong feeling. I need you to read with some strong feeling, because this is an exclamatory sentence. Who can read that with some strong feeling, showing me a good exclamatory sentence? So just saying those words in other classes gets them used to hearing and understanding that this application is across the board. It's everywhere. They're going to see it all the time. Anything else? I don't think there's anything else I wanted to mention, but if you guys have any questions, let me know. When you get these books, don't freak out. They're like this big. They're huge. They're thick books. We don't expect you to read the whole thing beforehand. The only time we expect you to read beforehand is for like your history and science lessons. Read those in your core knowledge guides, the whole thing, and in your first grader needs to know. Read that. Those are the only things we really want you to like read in depth and be prepared for. This kind of stuff. The practice and the repetition is what's important. Okay? Cool. Awesome. Well, that's Shurley. That's your introduction to Shurley.